We are welcoming Mr. Ehud Olmert, ex-Prime Minister of Israel, to Militaire. Mr. Olmert, we thank you so much for accepting our request for an interview.
I'm delighted to be your guest.
So, Mr. Olmert, you have publicly declared enough and accused the Israeli government of committing crimes, war crimes. Would you explain us why, please?
Well, I think that it became evident that very important factions of the Israeli government that are in a very important influential position, the Minister of National Security and the Minister of Finance, they all declared that Israel should deny the Palestinians in Gaza from getting their humanitarian needs. And they explicitly talked about starving the people living in Gaza against the basic fundamental values of compassion and humanity that characterize the state of Israel for generations. This is not something that I could tolerate.
So do you think then that at the end of the story, Mr. Netanyahu should be in trial at the International Court for war crimes against humanity?
I don't think so. I don't think that there is a real, genuine basis to bring Netanyahu or the former Minister Gallant into the International Criminal Court for the perpetration of war crimes. I would very much like that Netanyahu will be indicted in Israel for crimes that he committed against the interest of the state of Israel. And the failure that he is exclusively and individually responsible for the disaster which took place on the 7th of October. That he was, at the time that he was in charge of as Prime Minister.
But all the gallops show that Likud and Netanyahu are gaining ground in the polls. So what can that mean at the forthcoming, for the forthcoming elections of October?
According to the polls that I'm familiar with, and I'm familiar with the polls because they are published in the Israeli media on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, there never has been one poll in which Netanyahu gets the sufficient support in order to form a coalition in the future.
So what is happening really, Mr. Olmert, in Gaza, in the ceasefire in Gaza? We hear contradictory options from Hamas and from the government of Israel. Who is really fighting this ceasefire and breaking the ceasefire?
Look, first of all, I'm not sure that I have the most accurate information. I want to be very careful before I spread anything that is not accurate. I can say this, that President Trump said last week when he met with Netanyahu that the next phase will be accomplished soon. And the next phase means that Israel will have to pull out from the yellow line presently further into what was the original borderline between Israel and Gaza prior to October 7th. And that an international monitoring and security force will be established and will be brought into Gaza in order to make sure that Hamas is disarmed and is not capable of starting again, becoming a major political and military power in Gaza. So this is what we are looking forward to. I'm not certain that Israel is happy with it, but that's what Trump said Israel will have to do, and so we have to remain and wait to see that Israel really goes along the line of the Trump plan, and also, of course, that Hamas is being disarmed because none of us want Hamas to remain in any position of influence in Gaza. military or political influence.
Trump said that the plan for reconstruction will go on before the disarmament of Hamas. Can this happen?
I think he's got the power to influence the parties involved. We can see that sometimes when Trump wants, he can carry out things which are not necessarily acceptable in the first place, but he has the power to force it. So I hope that he will do it. I think that what he meant is that the second phase will start before Hamas is totally, completely, 100% is disarmed. Hamas is already largely disarmed already. Let's face it, most of the Hamas leaders were eliminated by Israel. They lost tens of thousands of their soldiers. They lost most of their weapons. They lost most of the launchers. They lost most of the rockets. They lost most of their command positions. So Hamas is by and large is devastated, is eradicated. And there is a need to continue to do it. And I hope that it will be done by the international security force that will have to be established. Now, whether or not every single weapon will be found and will be taken away from Hamas fighters, I don't know, but we have to move towards this.
French ambassador in Israel proposed Hamas to be radicalized, given to them less dangerous weapons, and turn them to police. Can this plan be a solution for the next day of Gaza?
Who proposed it?
The French ambassador in Israel.
Yes. Well, I don't think that we want to trust Hamas as a law enforcing agency. Police is a law enforcing agency. These guys of Hamas have violated every law, every human law, every formal law, every basic fundamental law of human decency. And I'm not certain that we can trust them to be as a law enforcement agency. They have to be disarmed. If they will recognize publicly the agreements that were signed between the Palestinian Authority and the State of Israel, if they will commit themselves publicly to stop involvement in terror, if they will recognize Israel's right to exist, then that will be a different organization, and then it can be considered to keep them within the framework of the political institutions in the Palestinian community. But it's not just giving them weapons and making them police. That in itself, I think, will not work.
The plan of deportation of the Palestinians from Gaza is over because there were some mysterious flights to South Africa, for example, with Palestinians we didn't know where they're flying to.
I don't know about the flights from to South Africa. I'm not familiar with this.
So, but the plan of deportation is over, you think?
There is no deportation. There will not be deportation. I mean, this is nonsense. It's much ado about nothing. There's not going to be, and no one is going to have, no one has the power to deport people, and no one has this desire, except, of course, for Smotrich and Ben-Gvir in the Israeli government and those messianic groups that support them. But the majority of the Israelis will not be part of it, and I don't think that there will be any country in the world, not a Muslim country, not an Arabic country, which will agree to absorb Palestinians that were deported from Gaza.
So, which countries will participate at the second phase in Gaza? Stability forces will participate in these forces. Which should be in these forces?
Joanna, I'm very happy that you give me the authority to suggest who these forces will be. Well, I'm sure that you didn't forget that I'm not in any government position as of yet, and therefore I don't know to say who should be and who can be and who will be accepted to be. It has to be done by the governments involved.
So if you were Prime Minister right now, which would be your first decision for Gaza? And which would be your first decision for West Bank, where, you know, the violence of the settlers is being escalating day by day?
As you know, I made my position about the West Bank very clear. Just last time was an article in Haaretz in Israel on Thursday. You can read it in an English version as well. I criticized is a light word. I criticized in the most harsh terms the perpetration of atrocities committed by settlers in the West Bank against Palestinians. And this is something that, had I been Prime Minister, I would have stopped it on the first second of my being in a position of responsibility. It can be done, it should be done. The fact that Israel is acquiescing with these atrocities, that the Israeli police cooperates with the settlers and the terrorists, the Jewish terrorists, that the army is ignoring or is closing its eyes and not taking the necessary measures against the Jewish terrorists, is a shame for the state of Israel, is a shame for the moral foundations of Israel, and this is not something that can be tolerated. And I think that it has to be changed momentarily by any Israeli government. Certainly, had I been in a position there, what I would do immediately.
So which will be your first decision for Gaza Strip, if you were now the Prime Minister?
To move on towards the second phase. Of course, to bring back the last Israeli hostage, the very courageous police fighter, Gvili, his body is still kept by Hamas or the Islamic Jihad. It has to be brought back. Israel has to embark on the second phase, going back to the international line and introducing the international security force into Gaza in order to protect Gaza from any eventual revival of Hamas as a military or political power in Gaza. And then Israel has to declare that we are prepared to embark on negotiations for a two-state solution. This is, you know, that this is something that I've been fighting for and campaigning for and supporting for a long time. And last year, 2024, actually, for 2 years, together with Dr. Nasser al-Qudwa, the former foreign minister and the former UN ambassador of the Palestinian Authority, we published a statement in which we propose how to end the war in Gaza and how to embark on negotiations for a two-state solution on the basis of the peace plan which I, as Prime Minister of the State of Israel, presented the Palestinian Authority with in 2008. Unfortunately, at that time, the Palestinians didn't have the leadership, the courage, and the inspiration to follow up with this plan, but there is not any alternative, and therefore it has to be implemented, and this is what, had there been a new government of Israel, I would expect it to start with a commitment to embark on a serious dialogue for a two-state solution.
So you think that the Palestinian principle is a reliable part and can play a role at the third phase?
I hope so. I hope so. I don't know now that the Israeli partner is reliable. And I hope also that the Israeli partner will change and will become a reliable partner. And so I hope, of course, for the Palestinians.
So the two-state solution remains vivid, alive?
Absolutely. There is not any alternative. Look, I know that everyone says, how can the Palestinians overcome the traumas that they have suffered throughout these last 2 years with the devastation of Israel in Gaza? And how can Israel overcome its trauma of what happened on 7th of October and the killing of so many innocent people by the brutal murderers of Hamas? It's very difficult. It's not taken for granted. It's not simple to just overcome this. But what is the alternative? If we don't change anything, then, as in the past, we will continue to control Gaza from all sides, and we will continue to have an Israeli military presence in every part of the West Bank, and we'll continue to maintain that pattern of back and forth, of fighting, of shooting at each other, of killing each other. What will it lead us to? We need to find a way that will end it once and for all, and the only possible way is a comprehensive agreement on the basis of two states, Palestine alongside the state of Israel in friendship, and Palestine is a non-militarized state, and they agreed in the past in all the negotiations I had with them to have a non-militarized state, and this is what we have to aspire for and to try and achieve.
So the Israeli society seems to be very polarized after the 7th of October, more than ever polarized. So
Yes.
where do you see to head right now?
Israeli society is very polarized. Israeli civic society is in the middle of a very tough, bitter, painful, heartbreaking confrontation between those who believe that we have an entirely new direction of politics and government in the state of Israel, and equally of those who support the Bibi and the messianic groups of partners of Bibi Netanyahu, which are presently in charge of the state of Israel. It has to change. And the only possible change is to understand that in the last 60 years, we already exercised total military control over the lives of 6 million Palestinians. It didn't stop terror. It didn't bring us closer to peace. And it kept us in this belligerent situation with the Palestinians, and with the cost of human lives, both for us and for them, which is totally unacceptable and unbearable. We have to change it. The only possible way to change it is by having a two-state solution. And that is what we have to aspire for, and this is what we have to emphasize. And I hope that sooner or later, the majority, both here and amongst the Palestinians, will come to this conclusion.
I wanted to ask you to comment Mr. Mamdani's, the mayor of New York, decision to overturn the executive orders inferring the IHRA about the definition of anti-Semitism.
Look, Mamdani is still carried away, I think, beyond control by the joy of his election. He should remember that the fact that he is mayor of New York is because 33 of the Jewish voters in New York voted for him. They didn't vote for him in order to become more extreme and more anti-Semitic and more anti-Israeli and more anti-Jewish. And if he thinks that he is now, as mayor, can do everything that he wants and that he can get away with it, he may be wrong. So just as a former mayor of Jerusalem and as a friend of the city of New York for many years, and I was cooperating and aligning with the mayors of New York generations, with Rudy Giuliani, with Michael Bloomberg, with all of them, I suggest to Mamdani that he will relax and control himself before the riots and opposition, which turned down the elections in New York in his favor, will come back to haunt him.
So right now, Nicolás Maduro is in prison in New York.
Yes.
And Mamdani also opposed to his arrest, which is kidnapping, in fact. So your comment on his kidnap, you approve it, You think that we enter in a new era of international status quo after this decision of Donald Trump?
Listen, Joanna, you are a very lovely lady. You want me to give you predictions about Israeli politics that I can do easily. You want me to comment on the statements of anti-Semitism made by Mamdani, the new mayor of New York, that I can do. Now you want me to offer an opinion about the abduction of the president of Venezuela from his bedroom. I think he was abducted when he was in Mirafiori, which is the official residence of the president of Venezuela. I think that it requires much broader understanding and knowledge of the circumstances which led President Trump to take this decision. I'm not familiar with it, and I have to be very careful not to offer any decisions which is not on the basis of full knowledge of what happens there. The one thing which I hope is that we will not enter a new era where governments of all sides can take such measures of abduction and kidnapping with a commando military operations in other countries, because one day it can be done by your friends, but in another day it can be done by your enemies, and when it is done by your enemies, you may be the victim. So I have to be very careful before I offer any opinion about what really happened. I don't know enough.
The last question refers to the Israeli-Greek relationships. How do you find them, and the collaboration they have with Cyprus?
I'm very happy about the relations between Israel and Greece. I think that Greece is a natural friend of the state of Israel, has been for so many years. And I recently was in Athens, and I met in a public event at the Delphi conference with Prime Minister. I like him, I respect him, Prime Minister of Greece. He's a very impressive person. And he now visited Israel last week, 2 weeks ago, and I think that the relations between Israel, Cyprus, and Greece are very positive, and I hope that they will develop in this direction. That what is so beautiful about the relations between Israel, Greece, and Cyprus is that they are not against anything; they are in favor of establishing a better partnership between our people and between our economies and between our civic societies. And that's what needs to be done. I'm very happy about it.
Turkey sees it as a threat.
We will have to settle with Turkey, and I hope that the president of Turkey, Rετζέπ Ταγίπ Ερντογάν, whom I know very well, will change his priorities and the emotional tone of his statements against Israel. That will be very good.
Mr. Olmert, thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you very much.
And many wishes for the 2026.
For you too, and for Greece.
Thank you very, very much.